So hi everyone, and welcome to Speaking of Sexuality. This week we're going to be exploring shameless self-pleasure. And yeah, before we start, there's just an invitation for us just to take some breaths together and allow yourself to just arrive here. You might be in the middle of a very busy time. There might have been a lot going on for you over these past weeks. Um, at the time we're recording this, it's like in between Christmas and New Year. So it can be a really complex time for people. There can be a lot of celebration. There can also be a lot of grief, a lot of like family dynamics that we're thrown back into. I keep reading the quote. It's like, if you think you're spiritual, go and spend a week with your family. Which I love, right? It's such a test of our, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's called the Kurukshetra. It's like all of the ancestral stuff that we bring in this life. And our family often can really encapsulate that for us. They really can reflect that, the ancestral ties that we have and the sort of karma that we might bring through from our family lineages. So, however you're arriving here, just allowing yourself to take a few breaths and just get settled. Maybe you allow your eyes to close or just rest gently on something in front of you. Yeah, and just taking stock. How are you arriving this morning? How is your body? Can you take a breath down into your belly, filling your belly up? Oftentimes we're taught to sort of suck our belly in, so just letting your belly go, even pushing it out a little bit. And taking a breath down even further into your genitals, into your hips, your sex organs, your womb space, your internal sex organs. How's your sexuality feeling as you're arriving here? Maybe you're feeling connected, maybe you're feeling disconnected. Just noticing how that's feeling. And then having a little wriggle, moving your body, giving your shoulders a bit of a wriggle, bringing your body online, your jaw, giving that a bit of a massage. Oh, you're a whole human being. Don't forget it. Oh, beautiful. So welcome everyone. So let's see what we've got on the agenda for today. I started doing these talks because I wanted to offer something where I didn't have to plan it a lot and just to be able to come here and share with you the things that I know and have learned from 8 years being a sexuality practitioner in a way that felt really chilled. Just to come and have a chat and like talk about some of the things that we don't really get to talk about in our everyday lives. And I did find it interesting that the self-pleasure came up so soon, but it's been coming up a lot in my own work recently, in my own practice, as well as the work that I do with clients, about just how important it is to have time to self-pleasure, to be with our bodies, right? And in this talk, I'm going to be sort of differentiating a little bit between masturbation and self-pleasure. And it's quite simple, it doesn't need to be too complicated, but it's like masturbation can be included in self-pleasure. But self-pleasure doesn't always need to include masturbation. That is to say that masturbation is touching the genitals, and that can be included in self-pleasure, but it doesn't have to. Self-pleasure can look like a whole body experience that doesn't include the genitals at all, but can be very pleasurable. And it's quite an important distinction to make because so often we're conditioned towards masturbating being very genitally focused, very orgasm focused, very quick. Oftentimes we go to it because we want to get something out of it. I want a release, I want an orgasm, I want to get something from my body. And there's no problem with that. There's no shame in it. But it often it mirrors how we approach sex, which is often like we go towards it like, give me something. I want you to give me something. I want you to help me feel something. I want to get something out of this, right? It can be quite extractive when we think about capitalism. That's sort of how we're taught to approach life. What am I getting out of this? What function is my body going to do that I can extract from in a way? I'm using quite severe language, but it's important, I think, to make these connections. And we don't often approach our body with this spaciousness. We're not often approaching self pleasure with this idea of like curiosity or like slowness or inner listening. We're often going in and we're like, right, okay, gonna have a quick wank before I go to bed. You know, and it's very functional, very British. For those of you who are British joining, then you know that one. And I think that it's a great travesty that we don't get taught how important it is to create time to touch our bodies. And even the word self-pleasure, even the title self-pleasure can sometimes be misleading because it's not always pleasurable. Sometimes we go in and we touch our bodies and there's grief and there's disconnection and there's pain there. It's not always pleasurable. But what happens when we start to create space for it is we learn how to be in connection with whatever is there. And that is pleasurable, right? Because we're learning how to meet ourselves at a deeper level, to be present with what is. And ultimately, this benefits so many areas of our life, so many areas of our life, because we're learning how to get to know ourselves, what we like, what we dislike, like how we approach ourselves. What if we don't feel pleasure? Is there anger? Is there frustration? Are we reaching for some external stimulus just to like get the most pleasure that we can get as quickly as possible? And again, there's nothing wrong with that, and I'll talk a bit more about that later in the different types of self-pleasure. But I wanted to open up this space today just to to talk to you guys about this and some of the different ways that we can approach self-pleasure and why we might approach it currently in the way that we do. So, for those of you that are joining live, if you're at home, you can also just, if you're at home, well, wherever you are, you can also just write this in your notebook, but just a few words, maybe let's say 3 words to describe your current relationship with self-pleasure. Or just having a bit of a moment to reflect, what is my current relationship with self-pleasure? How am I approaching it? What does it look like for me? Is it very rigid? Am I doing it in secret? Is it like this long, sprawling ritual? Is it non-existent? You know? And whenever we're doing inquiries like this essence of curiosity is really important because when we're being curious about something, we're much more connected to self energy. If we're judging or shaming and we can't be curious, ooh, what's happening here? Ooh, I wonder why I might not be touching myself. Ooh, I wonder why I might feel shameful. Then we're in the role of engagement with our experience rather than the shaming of it. So inviting that essence of curiosity into this inquiry can be quite sensitive. Great. So we've got emerging, curious, engaging. Great. Anyone else who's here live feel like being brave and writing some words in the chat? Quick, surface level, hidden. Yeah, definitely not on your own with that one. I think that's a very normal, it's become a very normalized way to engage with our bodies. Neglected, sporadic. Yeah, thank you. Newness, safety, relief, and rage. Whoa. New functional stress relief routine. Yeah. Frustrating, sad, and lonely. Effortful, evolving, and separate. Secretive and disappointing. Ah, yeah. Thank you so much, guys. I'm feeling the humanity in this, feeling our vulnerabilities. When we're turning towards sexuality and we're turning towards topics like pleasure and touch, it is very exposing. You think about sex itself, it's like we're taking our clothes off. We're getting to the nitty-gritty of the human experience here. We're getting to the the more hidden aspects of the human experience in modern society. So yeah, functional, releasing quick. Functional is an interesting word that keeps coming up here. Yeah, it's functional. And what's the function? Like, what are we trying to functional in what way? I'm so curious about that. Reclaiming, but still shameful. Yeah. At first, slow and scared, and then later impatient and wanting to get somewhere. Yeah, I find that even. It's like our brain goes, it's like I can be slow at first, and then something in my brain goes, right, let's get to the thing. And this is a really important aspect, and I'll talk about it now because it's coming up. So often we're rushing in pleasure, whether it's with ourselves and with someone else, because we don't know how to actually hold the pleasure in our nervous system. So rather than being able to expand, hold the pleasure, expand, hold the pleasure, expand, and hold the pleasure, this is how pleasure moves, right? It's not like how we're taught. It's not this increase, 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 orgasm drop, right? That's how most people experience pleasure. Oh, okay, we're gonna build it. We're gonna go faster and faster and faster. And we're gonna think about the sexiest thing that we could ever think about, and then we're gonna come, and then we're gonna feel a bit like, whoa, what a drop, right? Because we've gone so fast. Pleasure moves like this in waves. This is the natural state of pleasure. Not to say that it can't have peaks, not to say that it can't have orgasms involved, not to say that it doesn't have this increasing energy. But so often we don't even get to experience the next bit of the wave because the wave is so high that then we orgasm and then then it stops, right? So often. And so much to say. This is the nature of orgasmic energy, right? We move towards pleasure and then there's a natural dip. And then we move towards pleasure and then there's a natural dip. And that move towards pleasure might get bigger. Whoa, you see? It's like we might start a little bit of pleasure, a little bit of pleasure, and then a bit bigger, and then a bit bigger. And we might move towards that full orgasmic state. But there's just so many ways that this energy can move in our body, but we don't know how to hold that process. It's like when you think about masturbation and even you think about sex, like why are we rushing for it to be over? Like, why are we rushing towards the orgasm so fast? Like, why wouldn't we want it to last longer? It's almost like we can't hold it. It's like, no, no, quick, it's so nice, quick, get it over with. I can't do any more niceness. And the same is with premature ejaculation. It's like the body goes into such a stress state that we clench and we hold on. Oh my God, I don't want to come, and it becomes so tight in the body. We don't often approach self-pleasure or sex from a relaxed nervous system. But luckily, self-pleasure can be the antidote to this, which is why it's so important. Because through self-pleasure and genuinely being curious about our bodies and our genitals and our needs, we can start to increase that capacity to be with sensation. So whether you find it really difficult to orgasm or whether you find it that you orgasm quicker than you'd like to, learning how to approach your body with this curiosity and with lots of time and space can really support us to feel more, to feel more that we can hold, that we can actually be with, rather than needing to get rid of it or needing to push it away. So why might we feel challenged why might there be some difficulties, do you think, about masturbation? Like, why might it be challenging? Hmm. Yeah, shame. Shame is such a big one. And here we are in shameless self-pleasure. Shame is such a big one, which is why yeah, please do type your responses, not speaking them out loud. Yeah, time, shame, space. Let's start with shame. Please keep writing your thoughts in the chat. That's really helpful. We spoke about this last week in our talk on pleasure to heal the dystopia. But shame is such an interesting human experience, right? Because rather than anger or sadness, where we naturally would move towards expressing it or feeling it, shame we like turn in on itself. We turn it in on ourselves and it just gets compounded and goes further and further in. Don't let anybody see it. Don't let anybody know. Don't let anybody see that I do this. And sex is such a massive one where we can hold a lot of shame. And I'll probably mention this in every talk that I ever do, but it is really important that we contextualize where our shame might come from. Because we aren't born into the world feeling ashamed of ourselves. We have to learn it from somewhere. There has to be experiences that we have or things that we hear where we learn that we should feel ashamed. And our bodies are especially a big one where we can hear a lot of those things. There's a lot of conditioning around pleasure and shame. We think about Christianity and we think about how self-pleasure was seen as sinful, masturbation was a sin. I'll keep harping on about this, but like the idea that you'll burn in hell forever if you touch your genitals for pleasure, I think is so in our collective consciousness. And it's just really good to acknowledge it. Like, where does this come from? And how do I start to give it back? Right? Is it my shame? Do I want to feel ashamed? Can I choose a different pathway of approaching it? If we're approaching our it's like with any practice, right? With our spiritual practice, if we approach it with shame, then we'll get shame back. If we're approaching it with guilt, if we're approaching it with annoyance, then that's what we'll get back. We have to create an environment for pleasure and masturbation that feels genuinely supportive for us, genuinely pleasurable. Like, why are we approaching something so pleasurable with so many challenging emotions? Like, how do we begin to create a different environment for us to touch ourselves? And I would almost argue, and this has been my experience, is like there's so many beautiful ways to touch our bodies, and to have a functional wank is absolutely fine. You know, to want to have an orgasm because you're stressed out is fine. It's like this is our life, this is our body. Our body has these functions where, having an orgasm secretes an incredible amount of dopamine and oxytocin into the system. Amazing! So cool that that's possible, right? But it can also make it incredibly addictive because it's like, ugh, yum, yum, yum. And if we're approaching it in this way of like quick hits all the time, and we're rushing towards it and we're not giving ourselves time to be with our body, is this actually what my body wants? Or am I almost hijacking my system so I can get the reward? And this just begs a deeper question because I'm not here to shame any type of masturbation or self-pleasure. We all need and want different things, and we all benefit from different things. But my question to you, as a conscious human being, is it supporting you? Is the way that you're approaching your body supporting you? Because you have choice, right? I always say this to the people that I work with, especially those who have a tendency towards like lots of masturbation, quick releases, watching porn. We'll talk about porn in a little while. Having masturbating like that, where it's like quick release, lots of stimulation, quick orgasm, drop afterwards, it's a bit like having a McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with it. Like you can enjoy it, you can get a lot of satisfaction from it. You know, those salty fries and those yummy burgers and whatever it is, fine. But if you had it every day or three times a day, well, you wouldn't be very nourished. And I think that it's important that we also have time to make ourselves a five-course fine dining meal with our bodies, right? Where we set out time. Doesn't have to be ages, right? A lot of people have mentioned in the chat not having time. I don't believe it. How much time you spending scrolling on your phone? Yeah, I see you. I see you because I'm a human being as well, right? And I know that one. We all have 20 minutes a day. I really believe it. I know some of you might say not because if you're parents and if you have other things, like if you're a carer, maybe you don't have 20 minutes. 20 minutes in your week? Half an hour in your week? Yeah, you will have that. Imagine if you spent half an hour a week, like touching your body in the way that it wanted to be touched. Wow, that would be life-changing, right? So I'm riffing here. Let me go back to my notes because I've got some good stuff written down. Yes, this is what I was going to say. Let's look at it from the other side as well, because oftentimes it might be that we're not approaching self-pleasure at all. We might feel like we have low libido, or we don't want to connect with ourselves sexually, right? Because we don't feel aroused and we don't feel in the mood. Right? This is often something that can come up in relationships as well. This is also something that I mentioned last week about spontaneous desire versus responsive desire. Some people have spontaneous desire where it's like, oh my God, I'm horny now. Woo, I'm going to touch myself now because I'm horny now. Some people, and that's responsive desire. And some people have, sorry, that's spontaneous desire. And responsive desire is where we need to have time to start touching ourselves first or finding the way in to our arousal. We're responding to something rather than just spontaneously feeling aroused. This is really important when you think about your relationship with self-pleasure. Because if you've got low libido and you're struggling to find the inspiration to do it, it can often be because we're expecting ourselves to feel super sexual. I've got to want to have an orgasm. I've got to want to touch my genitals. I've got to want to feel like that's something that I want to do. When I don't think that's the case, when we take it away from masturbation and into the realms of self-pleasure, well, you've got a whole body and it doesn't have to be a sexual experience. It can be a sensual one. It can be a spiritual one. It can be an emotional one. You can go in and touch your body for any reason that you want to. So again, taking it out of that framework of like, I see this in couples a lot where there's a relationship dynamic where one of them wants sex and the other one doesn't. And oftentimes the one who doesn't, there's this pattern of them thinking about sex and thinking about the most intense sexual thing that might happen, let's say penis and vagina penetration. So their partner goes towards intimacy and they think, I don't want penis and vagina penetration right now, right? And I think that this dynamic can also come up in self-pleasure or masturbation. We think that we have to want that specific thing. So it's like, whoa, we need to take all of these things out of the box that we've shoved them into and start to see it as a playground for exploration. And this brings me on to what I was saying before, which was like, it's almost like you have to learn a completely different thing. It's like whatever you've been doing, not like throw it away, but like see if you can let go of that to then approach your body in a new way. Right? Rather than being like, okay, I'm gonna self-pleasure, I'm gonna have a wank, so I'm gonna get my video up that I know that I like, or I'm gonna think about this specific fantasy and then I'm gonna touch myself in this way vigorously. I'm gonna rub my clit fast, or I'm gonna, touch my cock really quickly and hard because I know that that's gonna get me to that place, and then I'm gonna orgasm, and then I'm gonna get on with my day, right? Again, that's fine. Sometimes I touch myself like that. I'm okay with it. But I also make space to have an hour, 2 hours, where I am not going towards my body saying, I want something from you. Give me this. Imagine if you had a lover who only ever touched you because they wanted to make you come, right? Because they wanted to have sex with you. That was the only time they ever touched you. Well, it would be quite off-putting, wouldn't it? Because it's like you always just like, connecting as human beings. Do you not want to get to know me? This is how our body can feel. Like, do you not want to get to know me? There's a whole world here that I'm trying to share with you. Are you making time to do that? Right? And I think that it's so important on so many levels. And I'm gonna give some tips in a minute for how to do this and some things that you can take into your life because sometimes it's like, where do I begin? But why is it important that we create time to be with our bodies in self-pleasure, in self-touch, let's name it that? Because so many of us feel so disconnected from our bodies, we're often living from here up, that we don't really know ourselves. We don't value spending time getting to know ourselves, which is really mad. And then we go into our encounters and we're like, "Well, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I like. I don't know how to meet you deeply because I don't really know myself. I don't really know my body. And again, it's like I'm being very tender around this topic because it's like that's not your fault because that's the world that we're conditioned to live in. There's so much shame from so many aspects of life, whether it's our parents, from society, from religion, from, you know, oppressive systems, capitalism, all of these things that tell us your body, it's not pleasure. Well, that's not very productive. Pleasure, don't let anybody see you doing that. Pleasure, embarrassing. So it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility now as an adult, as a conscious human being. And I imagine most of you here are on some sort of spiritual journey or self-awareness journey. Don't omit this from that. Imagine if you gave yourself as much time as you did a new lover. Oh my God. You know, when you first meet someone and you're like, oh my God, I just want to spend all my time with them and I want to get to know them and I want to like, oh, kiss their body and like, what do they love? What are their hobbies? How do they want to be touched? What do their genitals look like? How much time do I want to spend with this person? Imagine if you gave that to yourself, even for like 3 months. I'm going to take myself on a date. I'm going to have one night a week where I like touch myself and have intimacy with myself. That would be life changing, wouldn't it? You know, imagine how different you would be on the other side of that. So taking a breath. So, some tips. Let's do some tips, shall we? Yeah. What if we gave ourselves as much time as we did lovers? It's quite radical, isn't it, really? To approach our body like a lover. Yeah, and thank you for that because that's a really important point. Someone just wrote in the chat, touch feels a lot more arousing when it comes from others. So it's hard to learn what my body likes on my own. Self-pleasure often doesn't feel sexual. Yeah, yeah, 100%. We're so conditioned to external stimulus that we don't even know how to open the pleasure pathways in our body by ourselves. How do I do this without someone else or without erotica or a video or what does the sensation actually feel? What is actually pleasure to me without all of the bells and whistles? Not that your partner's bells and whistles, but without the extra stimulus. And it can be an infuriatingly slow process. And this is why even the word self-pleasure is a bit misleading. And one thing that I've been doing recently that's really supported me, for those of you who are on a spiritual path or practice, if you meditate, is to really bring in this essence of love. Like, what really makes you feel love in your life? What makes you feel connected? What makes you f and I'm not, when I say feel love, I mean actually feel it. What do you love in your life? Can you just embody that feeling in your body for a second? And then let go of the thing that made you feel like that and just feel the experience of love. What if you then moved from that place? I'm not here, me to a lover. This is what I would say. I'm not here to get anything out of you. I don't need you to orgasm. I don't need you to come. I don't even need you to feel pleasure. I'm just here to get to know your body. Oh, anyone feel nice when they hear that? Imagine if you just approached yourself like that. I'm not trying to make you feel sexual, but from this place of openness, we can open the door where sexual feelings are welcome. I think we should approach all our sex like this, actually. Not coming in with mad expectations, but just saying, hey, I'm here to just get to know you and touch you and be curious about what you like. So I'm just going to check the chat. We've got 15 minutes of me talking and then we can open up for some questions. So I could definitely do two classes on this. As I could do a whole bloody course on this. Um, Yes, if I Yes, someone's put if I spend time in self-pleasure, I judge myself that I'm avoiding something that is supposed to be more important, like getting another job or studying or making money. This is the fascinating thing, right? That I think that they don't want you to know. Who's they? I don't know, but I don't think they want you to know this. Is that getting to know yourself will make everything so much easier. The more you know yourself, the so much easier it's going to be to get a job, to get more money, to have different opportunities, to seek different friends, because where you're moving from when you know yourself is much more empowered. You're not moving from fear. You're not moving from doubt. You're not moving from shame or judgment or like, you have to do this because otherwise society will reject you. You're moving from, well, I know what I like, so I'm going to move towards that. So it's like probably the most important thing. And I just think that, there's so many ways we can do this through meditation, through yoga, through movement, through embodiment. But I just think that self-pleasure is an amazing way to go about it. It's like, great, there's so much potential there for undoing conditioning and also meeting ourselves with yumminess. But there can be a lot of layers to work through before we might be able to get to that yummy layer. And this is the expansion that is required of us when we approach our bodies in a different way. So I am going to give you some tips for this. So oftentimes when I approach self-pleasure, I begin in meditation. I take it out of the bed. I don't lie down. I'm taking it into I start in a different place where I sit with myself. I want to spend at least 5, 10 minutes getting into a meditative state to breathe, to check in. Am I okay? How am I feeling? What's my connection like with God, with spirit today? What's my connection like with the elements? Whatever helps you feel connected, connected to something higher than myself. Great. If we think of ourselves as little expressions and slices of the divine, then touching ourselves is like touching the divine, right? It's definitely a revolutionary act, for sure. Imagine if everyone was doing that. Fucking hell, the world would be a very different place. But this is the power that we're working with, that we're touching on when we approach ourselves in this way. So, beginning a meditation, and having some time, like not having a time limit is great. That's not possible for all of us. Not doing it when you're super tired is great. You want to be awake. I want to be present with my body. Imagine if your lover only came to you and wanted to have sex with you when you were tired. You'd be like, fuck off. Or when they were tired, well, we'll just do it before bed, right? Well, that's not very nice. But that's so normal. It's so normal, isn't it? Sometimes I feel a bit out of touch with the normal world. Just over here in my little self-pleasure bubble. Um, yeah. So do some practice. Breathe for 10 minutes. Put a nice song on. Sing some mantras. Whatever helps you put your feet in the earth. Whatever helps you feel connected is a very personal thing. I like to do a bit of energy work, turn on my spine, my Sushumna Nadi, this amazing energy channel that we have from the top of our head to the base of our spine. Like, just become aware of my genitals, become aware of my belly, my chest, my shoulders, my whole body. And then to have an intention of some sort can really help root it, or a bhavana in Sanskrit, which is sort of like an attitude that you're taking into it, like slowness or relief or pleasure. I often like to take in, I'm doing this to connect with the divine. Oh, it's such a thing that keeps me rooted because the moment that I start zipping off into wild realms of pleasure, I just think I'm just going to devote all of this to the divine. All of it. All of my pleasure, I'm just going to give it back to the divine. Give it to you. I give it to you. I offer you this. When we think about self-pleasure, it's not just us. It's not just us alone. It's like we're in connection, we're in communion, we're in connection with pleasure, we're in connection with sensation. In this way, we're in connection with life. So it's not just like a one-way street. Imagine yourself as your lover. Imagine the divine as your lover. Imagine you're masculine and feminine snogging. You know, there's so many aspects of us. Imagine the part of you that's grieving, making love to the part of you that's yearning. I don't know. Whatever it is that you want it to be. You can create these environments for yourself. Imagine the part of you that feels shame being met by the part of you that feels empowered. What if your arm felt shame and your hand felt power and you were touching the shame with the power? You know, offering yourself that. Whoa. Anyway, so then start slowly, right? Say your intention, write it down, light some candles, create an environment. Doesn't have to be like, you know, anything intense. Just light a candle. Put some music on if you like to listen to music. Find a playlist. I've got a great playlist actually that another practitioner made, and maybe I'll pop that in the chat before we go if someone can remind me. And start slowly, you know. You're not rushing. You're not definitely not rushing towards the genitals. I would say even for the first 5, 10 minutes, don't even go there. Just touch your body. Doesn't have to feel pleasurable. Just say hi. Think about your erogenous zones, right? Your lips. Oh, what I find when I'm self-pleasuring, I'm giving you all my naughty secrets here. I love getting spit involved, right? Like spitting on myself, like getting my mouth involved, like getting my hands in my mouth. I just find that so yummy. It's almost like I can really imagine that aspect of being with someone, you know? It's like, oh, really getting a bit messy, get a bit feral with it. Places like your neck, your collarbones, you can even touch these places now, your ears, you know, trying different types of touch, like gentle or like squeezing. We can also use like the elements here. Think about like earth touch or like water touch being more flowy, air touch being super light, fire touch being like pinching and scratching. For all you little kinky beans out there, slapping and you know, you can, but just do it with love. Right? We're not punishing ourselves. Small of the back, your inner thighs, your pubic mound, even the roof of the mouth. In a lot of yogic practices, there's a big connection with the roof of the mouth and the third eye, right? Third eye, which is in the center of the brain. If you follow, for me, it's way too sensitive, but I speak to people who self-pleasure and touch the roof of their mouth as well. It's way too sensitive for me to touch that. But that's something else, right? Your armpits, behind your knees, your nipples and around the nipples. And of course, your genitals are also erogenous zones, but just take your time. What I find when I'm self-pleasuring is like I'll really move towards something and I'll be like, oh my God, this is so pleasurable, this is so nice. And then all of a sudden I'm like disconnected and I'm like, I'm not feeling it anymore. And it's great because when that happens, I'm not like, why isn't it coming back? Why aren't I feeling pleasure anymore? I was supposed to be feeling pleasure. I just take a few breaths and just slow down and come back to hands on my heart, my breath, sounding, making sounds, moving. So often when we self-pleasure or masturbate, we're so still. We're not moving our bodies, we're just moving our hands. Oh, but the rest of us is like this. Right? Move your body, move your body against your hand. Come up on your knees, come up on your hands and knees, stand up, right? Think about it more like a practice than a script that you're following. You're listening and responding to your body, okay? And then when you do, and if you do choose to go towards your genitals, just slow down. Have a relationship with your genitals. Ask them, how do you want to be touched? If you say I don't know, it's like, great, well, let's try some different types of touch. You can ask, are you ready to be touched yet? Are you ready for me to enter you? Do you want me to penetrate you? Wait for a yes, right? Our brain and that desire for pleasure and orgasm can often hijack that listening. But again, think about it. If a lover was just trying to make you come so fast and they were ignoring you, or not really asking if you were enjoying it, or if that's what if you even wanted to do that, it would feel quite like, whoa, what do you want from me? Why are you trying to get something out of me when I'm just trying to connect with you? Right? So going towards your genitals, cup them first, you know? Cup them, hold them, say hi. Stay there for as long as you need to. You're letting pleasure unfold from the inside rather than be applied from the outside. And when you're starting to feel pleasure, you can move it around. I always say this, if you're touching your genitals, how's your heart feeling? If you're touching your genitals, how's your head feeling? How's your belly? Do you feel it in any other places in your body? Could you move it there? If you're feeling loads of pleasure in your genitals, sweep it up your body. Wow. In a lot of practices in the yogic tradition, in Kriya Yoga, which I'm trained in, you're using the energy system, you're moving with the energy centers, right? Our lower energy centers are very powerful. There's a lot of capacity that we have there. It's like our animal instincts. It's like lots of raw, you know? Move it up, move it into the heart. Anyone ever had a heartgasm? Like in that moment of orgasm, just pull the energy up to your heart. Whoa, right? Orgasms are beautiful. One second, my friend's just come home, so I'm going to get my headphones. Right. Lots of different types of orgasms that you can have. Right? Cervical orgasms, clitoral orgasms, G-spot orgasms. If you have a penis, you can have prostate orgasms, ballgasms. Why not? The whole world's available, right? Energetic orgasms, nipplegasms. And again, it's like they just all look very different. Allowing ourselves to go towards that state of pleasure and to ride it, to ride that wave of orgasmic bliss. And there is something to say on this that, different anatomy does work slightly differently with how orgasms work, but we're not going to have time to get into that today. So maybe next week's class will be on orgasms. So just another tip is like if you are using porn or erotica or you like to use some sort of external stimulation, like that's okay, you know? There's no shame in doing it. It's just, again, the question is, what's your relationship with it? Is this benefiting you? Is this helping you feel more connected to yourself? If you are watching something or reading something, titrate, move between what you're watching and then your felt experience of your body. What about watching something and then turning it off and coming back into connection? Again, though, I think still there's a little bit of hijacking that can happen with that. And maybe in a self-pleasure practice, I wouldn't use any external stimulation because I'm trying to see what my body is trying to tell me, right? But if I was having a more functional wank or I was like, I really want to have an orgasm, then I might go towards some, or like, I want to have a bit of stress relief or I just want to feel that experience of an orgasm, then I might use something like erotica. Ethical porn is really important energetically because your sexual energy is so powerful. If you're watching a lot of porn and like you're sort of in that loop of using it, I do think it's important to think about what it is that you're watching. Who's involved in it? Like, are they getting paid for it? Are they consenting adults? So pay for your porn, please, people. And then you know that it's coming from a better place. You know, there's some great websites like Erica Lust, Four Chambers is amazing, very arty. Balesa is like porn for women. Um, I don't really know what that means, but you know, there's lots of different websites that you can explore. Cheeks is an amazing one. Um, but don't get lost in it if you're watching it. Don't just like be doing all your pleasure from up here. You got this whole body that's feeling. And yeah, just to be mindful that, you know, oftentimes we grow up watching porn, or porn is the education that we have around sex, and it really can mar our experience of the actual body that we have. You know, whether it's judgment we have, whether it's like expectations that we have on our body. Also, when we watch it, it's like it really can get us aroused super quickly, you know, and we can miss out on this process of getting to know ourselves. So, and the last thing to say on this before I open for questions, so have a think about some questions, is like aftercare is so important. It's like if you've orgasmed, like clean yourself up with so much care. Don't be afraid of lube, by the way. Don't be shy with the lube. Coconut oil, natural ingredients. Don't be shy about it. So much easier to feel sensation when we are working with lube, potentially. But clean yourself up with care, with love. Oh my gosh, wow, what a beautiful experience. Thank you, body, for helping me feel like that. Don't rush back into your life. Be in the afterglow, like you would with a lover. Hello, you. You know, get yourself some chocolate, have a hot drink. Make it an experience. Why not, honey? You deserve it. You know, and this is how we start to move away from the shame mentality by replacing that with experiences that feel nourishing. I oftentimes think that it's not that we have to get rid of the shame. The shame is there. It's doing what it's doing, but it's like, how can we create enough of an environment that is counteractive to that? It's like, yeah, I do feel some shame sometimes, but I also have these experiences where I feel connected and loved and just in tune with myself, even if I don't feel sexual or even pleasurable. I'm here with myself, and that is worth it. You know, that is supportive for me in my life. So, beautiful. Okay. So, any questions? I always think, how am I going to talk for an hour? And then an hour goes. So, any questions I would love to hear, please feel free to write them in the chat. Is this resonating? Is this landing? Any reflections are welcome. Are you like, shut up, Ria, you hippie? There is something I'll speak to if nobody has any questions, which is just a final piece on. That's not really the right word. It's like the difference in orgasm depending on what genitals we have. So in yogic traditions, there's a practice called brahmacharya, which is very specifically people with penises choosing not to orgasm, choosing not to come because of how it interacts with the energy system, right? And it's not a shameful thing like God will shame you or you won't be a spiritual person if you do it. It's like for people with penises, it can have a really big effect on energy levels and the way that it interacts with how awake you feel, how energized you feel, how much juice you've got for your energy system. And I think that within that, there's this thing in Ayurveda and in the Indian mystical tradition called ojas, right? Which is like our juice. It's like our life force energy. And you can build your ojas through things like eating dates, eating almonds. It's like this sort of very sumptuous juice of life that helps us when we're going throughout our day. It's like helps us with practice. It's very juicy energy. And for people with penises, coming reduces ojas. So there can be this practice and as we're talking about sort of like sacred sexuality, devotional sexuality, there can be a lot of practices where they say, for men or for people with penises, choosing not to orgasm or not to orgasm so regularly can be supportive for the energy system. It's like you might hear of like no, not November and all of that sort of jazz. And again, this isn't from a place of shame, but more so from a place of just awareness. It's like, what would it be like if I held on to this energy for a bit? And I think for people with pussies, it can be similar, but it's slightly different in the yogic traditions. I think it's great to hold on to it because we can use our sexual energy for different things, like creating, like making things, like having connections, like building things. It's very sort of the essence of creative life force energy is sexual energy. So it's great, again, to just be curious about what's my relationship like with orgasming and coming. Do I feel good afterwards? Do I feel juiced up? Do I feel depleted? Yeah, someone said I noticed if I don't come for a while but still have pleasure or play, I do feel more energized and powerful and confident. Yeah. And interestingly on this, because I will say this because this really surprised me and it's slightly off topic, but it's also not. I was taught we had a whole conversation with my teacher, my meditation teacher, about this the other day, about this practice of brahmacharya and like holding semen, like with like semen retention. Um, and what was the impact on people with vaginas, with people with pussies? Like, what effect did orgasming have on ojas in people with vaginas? And he was saying, well, actually, it's quite boosting for ojas for people with pussies. So I say, yeah, baby. Lucky us. Because it can build our vitality. So that's why, like, oftentimes we can be multi-orgasmic as people with pussies, as women. We we can be multi-orgasmic. It can boost us and give us life force energy and juice us up, right? But what depletes our ojas is overgiving socially. I just thought that was so fascinating. Like, if we're overgiving socially, that life force energy gets depleted. So anyway, that was a slight aside, but just something to note on the energetics of it because I did find that really interesting. So, difficulties with low energy and motivation, ideas, thoughts about self-pleasure, not just at specific times, but welcoming more regularly every day. Yeah. A really nice way to begin with this is go to your senses, right? Take 10 minutes a day and choose a sense. I find that the ones that are more gross can help, not gross like disgusting, but gross like physical. So things like taste, touch, get some fabrics, get something external to help you tune in with that sensation, right? And notice what feels pleasurable. Let's see, I've got this leaflet here. I could have 10 minutes with this leaflet touching my body. Let's choose something more nice, like a nice fabric or something, you know, and start there. And my like something that I like to see is like when you're engaging, it's like if you struggle with low energy or motivation, like choose something that feels easy, right? Start with 10 minutes. What feels really easy is me. I'm just going to touch my chest. I'm going to put some music on and I'm going to go really slowly and I'm going to just be with this. Great. Don't do anything, especially at the start, whatever, that feels like it's going to be difficult or really like, not that it's going to be difficult, but that it's going to be really unpleasant. Because you're never going to do it. You're not going to enjoy it, right? Think about what I like to do is like think about what if a lover said to you, we're going to have 10 minutes later. How would you like me to touch you? We only got 10 minutes. What? And then you're like, oh my God, we only got 10 minutes. Well, I want half an hour. Right? Give yourself that. What I feel to do, because we're on this topic, for those of you who are here live, is I feel to offer you a free, I feel to offer you a class that you can watch on your own for self-pleasure, like a guided practice. And I'm going to pop my PayPal link here as well as the link. So if you want to donate, then you're really welcome to. But I just feel like for those of you who are here, this is just a really beautiful add-on. Um, which I'll do that now. But just if anybody's got any other questions, do feel free to ask. Someone said anything about books, and I have to think that one a bit longer. Okay, there it is. Great. So you could save this. So a little pay as you feel class. Um, this is just a really nice one to listen to. Like you can just follow along, and that's the only thing actually. I did make that for people with pussies, but you could definitely listen along if you don't have a pussy and just ignore the bits where I talk about the labia. Could be your energetic labia. Okay, I'm gonna close the recording, but stay on here with you guys so that this isn't just sipping on. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Our next one is on the 11th of January. The 11th of January. So pop that in your diaries. And yeah, as always, it's completely free. We all deserve access to free education on sexuality and topics like this. So thank you so much for being here, and may your erotic aliveness benefit all beings everywhere.